Welcome everyone to week 1 of the Alchemy of You. My name is Kelly Nazat, and we start this week with fire. The top of the fire realm is about who you are, who you're becoming, and what you're bringing into the world. This is about the hero awakening to a call to action. We all have been awoken by something in our lives that took us out of ordinary reality to show us something greater than ourselves that we are a part of, that we are in this world to walk our own path, our own unique place in the world, and to climb to new heights of awareness, new heights of being, and creating a focus of awareness that says, I am. I'm here to be in the world, I'm here to do in the world, I'm here to create in the world. None of us can do it alone. It takes dreams of the collective and of the individual. And this first section is all about you. Who are you? Why are you here? These are the questions we're going to look into through the course of the next week. So we're setting this up around that inner fire. There's something within each one of us that wants to get to something greater, something more than. And it's a beautiful thing. There's always this impulse to evolve, to bring down that higher awareness and to bring ourselves into our higher state of consciousness. It's this connection with the higher self, the conscious self, and the lower selves. And it all begins with the courage to act in the world, the courage to be who you're here to be. And that does seem to be the point, to understand who you are in your own story, and to hold that as a focus, especially for this week ahead. This is a very special week where we look into what our focus is for this course for the next 14 weeks, and how we are individuals within a greater collective. The world needs us to shine. The world needs us to awaken, not just to what we're proficient at or have done really well in the past, but really this is a call to adventure, to release all of the struggles from the past, release all of the challenges that came before us, and allow those to percolate, to synthesize, and to come together within us to really inspire us to rise to this new level. All of you have been chosen for this first round, especially because I think you're an incredible group. I think each one of you individually are doing amazing things in the world. And I see your joy, I see your striving, and this is for you. This is for us. This is an opportunity for us to get to a deeper meaning in our lives of what our purpose is, what our place is in the world, and to really evolve our sense of self and dare to own that spiritual awareness of something greater within us, something higher within us than our day-to-day selves of everyday living. And when we can do that, we can really bring together and make sacred our everyday self. Our everyday self is a manifestation of our survival self and also our higher conscious self. So this is about moving into that mystery and owning the process of who we're becoming. So I invite all of you to really hold space for yourself in this, and in our groups to join in and support each other, and do so from the heart. Do so from a place that understand we're all creating our realities in every breath and every moment. We're all here to change ourselves and to change the world for the better. And it is in communities like this that we allow ourselves to become greater than. There's something about us that's just waiting to come through, that brings our visions into the world and allows us to dare to be what the world needs us to be, what we're becoming, what our future selves are destined to be. It's all here now, and this is an opportunity for all of us to take a sacred moment to look into this path ahead. Thank you all for joining, and enjoy this presentation, and I hope it inspires some vision for where we're all going in the world and what's ahead for us for the next 14 weeks. You're all amazing people. You're all amazing souls. Together, we're on time. Everyone, this is Kelly Nazat. Welcome to the Alchemy of You. And a special thank you all for joining in this experience. It's a very exciting time. We're all coming together. We're bringing our gifts together. We're bringing our wisdom together. We're bringing our questions and concerns. And we're all entering into the mystery of what's unfolding for all of us together. So this first week is all about introductions and coming together, and it necessarily, in some ways, and perfectly fits with where we start in the fire realm. In this alchemical wheel of all the elements coming together, it's the fire realm that is our inspiration, that is the part of us that gets fired up about our lives. It's a part of us when it's missing, life seems challenging. Life seems long and it's drudgery. With that fire, there's always this renewed sense of burning away the dross and heaviness of day-to-day living, and it illuminates the possibilities that bring us hope, that bring us a vision of a new world ahead. So we start off this journey in Fire 1 at the top of the fire realm. This is the pinnacle of what we understand ourselves to be. In astrology, it's the first house, which is the area of our life. It's about you. Who are you? Why are you here? It's about personality. It's about persona, identity, the great I am. You are who you know yourself to be, in part, and also you are the mystery of who you are beyond what you know of yourself, that you get these little hints and intimations of. So this program, this workshop, is an opportunity for all of us to go into a deeper exploration of who we are as individuals and as part of a collective. And this is very exciting. This is something that I've been working with my clients for many years, and now it's an opportunity to work with my peers and work with others who are really ready to take this exploration to the next level of discovering something beyond what is already known. We're looking into the fire to divine something greater than what's already here, to be able to bring a vision into the future of what's coming ahead, what's next for us. So in this program, I invite all of you to bring your questions, to bring your unknowing, to bring the mystery into this process, and also to bring your passion into this. What is the fire that's igniting you? What inspired you to join in this process with these other wonderful people from around the world who are coming together to explore their own path, but to do it in a collaborative, intelligent sort of way, so that when we come together, we know that something greater can happen when we do it together as part of a collective. So as this is a personal journey, it's also done within a very sacred group of folks who also share that passion that you share of what's next, what is the mystery unfolding within us as well as between us. So we're going to have plenty of time to discover that in our groups and in the discussions and your own personal meditations and explorations. And each of the 12 primary areas that we will explore will offer the opportunity to explore a unique facet of your life. This is one of those. Let's start with, who are you? Why are you here? It's a great question. Implicitly, we have some sense of that, right? We have a history, we have a present moment now, a self, and then we have a future self that we either are tuned into or projecting out or hoping for, right? So all of that together is a spectrum of who you are now. There's the inner self, there's the outer self, the persona. That's a great part of what drives us. How do you show up in the world? How do you, when you look at yourself as a personality, how do other people see you? That's always an interesting exercise. Not always my favorite one, because it always goes towards those challenging sides. Well, people see me this way or that way, and is that really me, or is it the persona that I'm putting forward? And is that really my authentic self? How much of the way I'm experiencing myself or I perceive others see me is a reflection of inner shadow stuff? And, shadow stuff, just to be clear, is really just things about ourselves, parts of our own nature that aren't well integrated. So if we were looking at shadow stuff in your personality, what is it about you at this point that isn't integrated well within your understanding of who you are, that you're working with maybe, or that you're ready to work with? These are some of the questions we'll dive into during this week ahead. So we know that Fire One is about being inspired, and it is exciting to start a new group. For me, this is very exciting. This is like a culmination of more than 20 years of working through this alchemical process and bringing it down into a way to share what I have learned from many different systems, ancient and modern, and seeing where their crossroads come together, seeing what are the fundamental elements of psychospiritual development, a process of being and becoming something. Fire One is, for me, is just that excitement of knowing that I am a mystery unfolding, and I am excited to be on this planet, and I am challenged by being on this planet, and I am hopeful about our future, and I know that I can't do it alone. So this part for me is the movement out into the world and saying, I am a part of the world, rather than I am this little lonely molecule on the planet, right? So we're going to get into questions around who are you, what are you about, and this is really for you to be able to explore and to go a little bit more deeply into it. And I would invite you to hold it in a very sacred way, this notion of who you are and why you're here. And for this course especially, I would love for you, if there is some question you have about identity, about who you are, about what is a personality, or what is a person, what is it in this exploration that really excites you or challenges you and calls you into an adventure? So this is what we're going to focus on when you're with your group, and you have your folks coming into your group. You will hold your passion or your focus or your question, and they will come together with you to explore it as a collective. And you will in turn do it for others throughout the workshop as well. So this is a great question to explore. You'll find more of the material in your learning system that we're going to connect you with, that you're probably already connected with at this point. And all of that will be guided, but that's pretty much a central notion of it. So in terms of how, one of the things I want to offer in these weekly hour and a half videos, I want to offer an opportunity to just begin the conversation about our focus for the week, this week being personality and inner vision. And I want it to be just a primer, maybe a way to conceptualize this idea, to hopefully offer some challenges to your preconceived notions, and certainly to my own. They will be coming up, so that we can expand our own understanding of what it means to be an individual, what it means to be the hero of our own story, the heroine of our own story. And, we're calling in everyone's different perspective, because together there is a synthesis that occurs, this mystery of knowing that rises up and speaks in a whole different way about who we are as individuals. So this is an invitation to a much greater conversation. Some of the stories that I look at when I think of this are from ancient mythology. I look at Prometheus, right? Now, there's a lot written about Prometheus. Obviously, over a long period of time, a lot has been said. One of the things that strikes me about Prometheus, as with others who have dared to wake up humanity and say, look, you're living like animals. Wake up. You're so much more than this. You are, you have inside of you the stuff of gods, but because you don't know it, you're living like pretty close like animals. And so Prometheus saw this, and, with compassion, he said, I want to bring down fire. I want to bring down this awakening to humanity. He brought healing. He brought the ability to navigate across the oceans using the stars. He brought this idea, this awakening to that you are part of something greater, this awakening process. Now, it's interesting that he was tortured by the gods for doing this. What is that, and what does it say about this whole Earth experiment? Why? Why is there this element of torture associated with wanting to awaken others? So in some sense, I know a lot of us feel this way as we try to awaken ourselves, and we work in our professions or in our personal lives, or both, to help others awaken with us. We find all sorts of pushback, right? All sorts of challenges there. In this focus, what are some of the personal challenges to who you are and who you're becoming that really make the difference for you? This is what we're going to focus on primarily in this process. So, so Prometheus, we have Prometheus wanting to wake people up. That's an example, a model of someone who, suffered the art of helping others awaking. We have Icarus, right? There's another variation on a theme. He's sort of is a model, an exemplar of, we all are, basically products of the sins of the father, sort of thing. We've inherited the technological labyrinth, if you will, of what we've inherited. We didn't build our society, we inherited it. Icarus's father, Daedalus, was this mad inventor, right? And he got himself in trouble with King Minos for being part of creating this half human, half animal bull minotaur, and with King Minos' wife, and using Zeus, all these, he helped to create this aberration of man and God mix, and King Minos was not very pleased with that. So he threw Daedalus, the inventor of all these wonderful things, but he ended up throwing him into his own labyrinth, his own prison that he devised. And with him, he threw his son, his progeny, Icarus, into it as well. So when we look at Icarus, and Daedalus says, well, he this is air realm stuff. He's mental. He's an inventor. He's a magician, and he sees birds flying out of the labyrinth, and he sees bees creating these little holons, these whole centers. And so he saw the, feathers as symbolic of the ability to use our minds to escape the traps of our past. But he also saw the wax as symbolic of what brought these bees together as individuals to create something that was beyond them, that was above who they were. So when you look at King Minos and the enslavement of Daedalus and his son Icarus, you see that there's this real struggle to rise above what we've done technologically, what all of our genius and our intellect has trapped us into. But you also see the fact that bringing together this wisdom of seeing birds escaping by flying out individually, he saw the feathers as symbolic of birds being able to escape the labyrinth of the mind. He also saw bees as creating this holon, this perfect whole system that was complete, that it was self-sustaining, and that these individual bees were all together being driven by something in the field that guided them to create perfect natural worlds. So together, the wax of what brings us together, and the feathers that gives us our own individual flight ability to think our way through the world, that is how they escape. So now in the fire realm, we see Icarus at the top of the flight path, right? And he is exhilarated. He's at this point of seeing the big picture, of kind of being in his higher self and saying, oh my God, look at this. I see the lay of the land. I see so much going on here. This is really kind of that inspirational place of Fire One, of feeling that sense of exhilaration, right? Now we know where the story goes, and that's certainly the whole arcing dynamic of fire, of going out into the world and the world burning away what allowed us to escape, but isn't really real about us, and that's a burning away and refining of our personality. But for this week, let's simply focus on who we are and what do we aspire to. What is our highest motivation in our lives, and what is it that if we could idealize who we are and what we're becoming, if we can look at the perfect future self, what is that for us, right? So there's other examples. I mean, there's wonderful examples of heroes and modern storytelling and modern movies. There's examples like the movie The Fountain, which I adore, so metaphysically powerful. But, his call to adventure was to save his wife. She was dying, and he went through everything he could, death and transformation, and all of the mysteries of things that were well beyond his understanding. He put himself through all of that because he wanted to save his wife. So there's a story of somebody going on an adventure to save another. There's a great movie I remember from when I was younger called The Gods Must Be Crazy. There's these Aboriginal tribesmen, and a Coke bottle gets dropped down into the middle of them. And so the Coke bottle representing technology sort of impeding upon this pure tribal world. And at first, they were using this Coke bottle, and it was great. They were using it to flatten out. It just seemed flatten out bread and stuff like that, and it could make noises. It was a wonderful thing, and they thought the gods had sent it. But after a while, as the name gives away, they started to realize this Coke bottle was causing problems because everybody's fighting over it, and they're hitting each other in the head with it. And again, technology creating discord. What once was good becomes a challenge. So the hero takes the bottle away, and he's determined to throw it off at the edge of the world to get rid of it, right? And of course, he went on all sorts of adventures. So there's a good example of a hero dealing with sort of like the reluctant hero. Well, I didn't choose this, but I have to do it, sort of thing. And we certainly all have, I think, that aspect for ourselves in our lives. Another story, a modern story my children love, is the movie Moana. And Moana is she's the daughter of a ruler, and they've had this history for a very long time of never going away too far off of the island. But she's on a discovery that brings opens the world back up. Instead of being sort of tribal and isolated on her island, she realized that her ancestors at one point were explorers. They explored the world. And so Moana was given this sacred task of breaking tradition in order to create a new world. And she has to deal with all of these, she has to deal with all of these masculine gods and rulers, and she has to deal with a very upset feminine goddess that's very upset with humanity, and there's a whole process that she has to go through. But at some point, she had to get beyond what was commanded of her, not to take that journey. Forget about it. That's foolishness. She had to rise above that, and at some point, she had to say, I've got to take this journey. And so I'm sure many of us can resonate with that. And Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, there's the first part is the hero awakens to some sort of call to adventure, but almost immediately is the rejection of the call. Like, no, that's too much. That's too painful. It's too scary. No one's going to support it. No one's going to buy into it. No one's going to, well, maybe everyone's going to turn against me in the process. And certainly in some ways, that's sort of the burning off of the impurities of what's fantasy. Like if I go out into the world and I do this, the world is going to be, so receptive. And then you bring it out into the world and it's not always that way. So the hero's awakening is really about what is the most ideal version of this you can come up with without being so concerned with, starting the journey. What is this call to journey that you're on right now? Very personal, very professional, very collective. Whatever it is, that's our focus for the week. Another good one is The Wizard of Oz, right? Dorothy is challenged by an act of nature where she's knocked on the head and she goes into this dream state, and she starts to go into this inner world of archetypal challenges of dealing with inner shadow stuff and inner powers, of dealing with a lack of courage, and all these different things that her different friends represented, from the cowardly lion to the 10 men who didn't have a heart, and but these were all inner aspects of her own personality. And as we know, the ending is, well, you always had it in you. All you had to do was sort of click your heels and wake up into it. But, for the Wizard of Oz, part of the story takeaway is that all of this ability to take this journey is within you. So we have the Wizard of Oz. Of course, we have Star Wars. Me and my son are watching the entire series over and over again. He can't get enough of it. And you see Luke Skywalker, he's been whisked away, sort of like Parsifal and the Knights of the Round Table. They were both whisked away from what did their fathers in as knights and these heroes that had suffered their demise trying to be this hero. They were taken away from it in hopes that they were spared, but as fate would have it, they get drawn right into it, which is a very classic tale. And I think for myself included, for the most part, I'm very much on board, and I always have been, but there's certainly many parts of me over this lifetime, that I've said, well, if I could just eddy out and live on a yacht and Corsica or something like that, that would be great. Fate did not necessarily have that in store for me, and I'm glad of it, because as reluctant as I am at times to take up this journey because of the challenges inherent in it, I can't imagine a better life to go through, especially at times like this when it's moving into another state of development where I'm meeting with other like-minded people who really are fired up to make a difference in the world. So we have all of these wonderful examples of movies that can give us a sense of how to move forward in the world, and these are all great things. In terms of to example I can give in terms of professionally, a bit of a case study, and we'll call him Jim, just for his to give some anonymity. Whether he chooses to maintain, that's up to him. But one of my dear friends and clients came in years ago and suffering opioid addictions and suffering a lot of, for a very long time, much of his life since he was a child, had suffered through a lot of different issues. And much of it was around personality. Who was he in the world? How did he fit into the world? He always felt out of place in his world. He felt like he didn't belong in it. And then he had an injury and he got addicted to opiates because of it. And it was threatening to bring him down, and the pain and suffering, both physically and mentally, by the time I started working with him, it was really extreme. And much of the work that we did, as I do with all of my clients, is, a big part of the medicine is really reawakening that fire, helping remind him of what's really amazing about him, what is really powerful about him. There's going to be that focus on the shadow stuff, like what's not working for you, but that's going to come in. But in the beginning, it's really kind of acknowledging his inner hero and who he is, pardon me, to give a sense of moving forward. So through the course of our work together, he got to see a whole lot of things about himself that he realized that he was lacking discipline. He realized that he was trying to take shortcuts, either by trying to self-medicate or isolate or these sorts of things, and he recognized that that there was a lot of projected shadow stuff that he was dealing with, whether it was with his father and issues around authority, or whether it was dealing with trying to maintain a constructed ego, a constructed personality. In some sense, it was fake it till you make it, right? He had been creating a personality that fit, that was mercurially fitting in what he felt like society needed, or his friends needed, or was called for in the moment. But then there was this realization that because of that, he was really sacrificing his own authenticity. And there was this, he talks about, and his writing since this idea of hiding within his condition, of really kind of over-identifying with the addiction, with the pain, with the problems, and hoping that there could be some quick fix, some surgery, some process, some magical formula that existed outside of himself. He really felt like he wasn't living his truth. He wasn't really living in reality, because nothing he was doing was working well for him. And there's, at some point, no hiding from that. So a lot of the work we did together was really kind of facing that authenticity. Who are you really? Who are you on an ideal level? And also, what are some of your inner shadow stuff? What are some of the things that you don't feel is very pretty about yourself, but it must be owned, because in the shadow work, as we know, to be able to own the shadows, to be able to turn and face the dragons in our lives and our personality in this case, and to be able to drop out of the head and from analyzing them and dropping into the heart to really be with them in a very powerful way from a heart-centered perspective. and therefore beginning the process or the capacity to transform those dragons into allies. It's a lovely thing. Shadow work is a big part of my work. And this idea of Jung, Carl Jung's, that he said, your shadows, these parts of yourself that aren't well integrated or you've denied in yourself, these are all allies waiting to be transformed. They're allies in disguise. So the very things that you cringe about yourself, when transformed, become the guides to the next level of who you are and what you're becoming. So I love that idea. I've certainly seen it in practice for many, many years, that this is how we make it through that process. So what we're going to do is I'm going to offer a guided journey into the future self. And you'll find it in the audio section of this training. And the idea behind this guided journey into the future self is to really honor the notion of Fire Realm as being future-oriented, looking at ideal self, and it gives an opportunity to be with who you're becoming, or who you would like to become, or idealize becoming. And in my work, I find that that is a very, very important aspect of this, of the work, is being able to have something to look forward to. Now, in this process of sharing, I invite all of you to bring in all of your concepts around personality and persona, all of the tools and resources that you're willing and interested to share with the group. What are some of the challenges you've seen in yourself, in your clients maybe, or in friends and family around personality and shadow stuff like that? And also, there's the concepts, how do you see it? There's the tools and resources, what do you do about it? And then and of course the shadow stuff. And then there is, what is the ultimate outcome? In each of these 12 areas, those three things: concepts, tools and resources, and outcome. What is it in your perception that makes the perfect personality, or you as an ideal person? These are all very important to begin a deeper discussion. So with the guided journey, the future self, it'll probably be like an hour-long journey. The idea, again, is to really take this not in the head intellectual journey into what is your ideal self, but on a deeper level to see, when you drop in and you go into this imaginal, very right brain sort of experience, what is revealed that you don't yet know, that is maybe a little surprising, maybe a little novel, but definitely a deeper and more integral understanding of who you're becoming. And so this journey allows you to enter into that and begin this process. Now, in terms of that, so that's more water realm stuff, right? That's going in deep into who you are. In terms of the earth realm, we're going to be looking at tools, right? Earth realm is really, let's just get it together, figure everything out, and get it together. Let's get all our resources together. Let's plant a seed, let's germinate it, let's grow it, and let's prepare it to bring it out to the world. So the tool that I am modeling, I should say, is the Strength Finders 2.0. So we've included that in the packet as well. We've included a link to this. And I invite all of you to take the test. There's an online version for I know it is for iPhone. They have a great app for it. It's incredible. The amount of information that comes from it. Just a little bit about Strength Finders from my experience. Things I love about it. Okay, first is that it gives you your top 5 strengths. And it's based in positivistic psychology or positive psychology, which says we're basing our understanding and model of humanity not on what's wrong with you, but what's good, what's right about you. And so, for instance, my top 5 strengths are we have, what are they? It's been a while. I'll have to go back and look at that. Anyway, we each have our 5 greatest strengths. Mine's about, God, what are my strengths? I have to pause and look. I'm going to have to come back to that. So when you go through this process, you'll see your top 5 strengths, and it's an exciting experience looking at what, at your best, if you focus on these 5 strengths, how that can guide you in your experience of reality and help guide you into who you're becoming. So I think this is an incredible first step for this process. It's an incredible program, and you can find it on your iPhone. I think you can find it on the Droid as well as an app. And the things it gives you, the information it gives you is really extraordinary. I was surprised by the depth that it goes into. And so there is a book on it, Strengths Finders 2.0. And what's nice is on the front of it, they actually give you the opportunity to put your top 5 strengths in it. And of course, you can put little bookmarks in it. I liked it when I first did it. It was there was a Harvard-based program on neuropsych coaching, and this was the first thing that they first tool they used. And at first, I thought it was exciting because it's based in positive psychology, and it looked like something that could give some great information. Has great reviews. A lot of people use it, but it's been many years now since I've done it, and I'm finding some extraordinary things that keep coming up with it. Because as I live into these top 5 strengths, I realize when I'm in my strengths, I'm at my best. So working with Soul Lab, when I'm aware of my strengths, for instance, and in terms of how I deliver Soul Lab, and the way I understand Soul Lab, I'm coming from a place of power, for my own personal power. And so, for instance, and just thinking about Soul Lab and what it is, it seems to fit, right? My top 5 strength is connectedness. My second is strategy. The third is ideation, creating new ideal ways of doing things in the world. The fourth is learner, being a learner and loving to learn. The fifth is maximizing the benefits of what we do. So I'm always looking for better ways to do things. And the sixth one is being a futurist. I'm really extraordinarily interested in what's coming. Who are we becoming? And so when I look at this connectedness, strategy, ideation, learning, and maximizing, these are as esoteric as some of this seems for me. And it is for me. It's very esoteric, this whole enterprise, that I've adapted it to a very real world and a very everyday world. Underneath all of that, there are these essential strengths that I have. They're my strengths because they're my focus. And as I speak from those strengths, I'm coming from a place of authenticity and of strength. So I encourage all of you to take it and share your information with each other. Maybe bring it into your groups, certainly on Saturdays when we get together. Maybe bring up questions you have around it, or bring up insights that came up through it, because I think that taking this approach of really valuing what's most incredible about you is a very good way to start a journey. We're going to need all this fire we can get to make our way through all of these elements. It's like the Iliad, we're going to go through all of these experiences. Some of them are not going to be as pretty as others. Some of them are going to be much more challenging than other elements. And it's great to start off with a great fire and get excited. Every good venture should start with some level of excitement. And I think the greatest excitement is to really honor and acknowledge what's most beautiful about you, what's most powerful, what are your strengths as you know them. So that's a great place to go with the Strengths Finders. Let's see, what else is there that I need to bring out? I think the next thing we're going to be doing, there are different tests that are out there, old tests like the Myers-Briggs, There's the Enneagram. There's many different ones. Certainly share the ones that that you love around the area of personality and the hero awakening sort of thing, the heroine awakening. And it would be a great point of reference and conversation as well. And other than that, I think we've covered it. I can do just a tiny bit of housekeeping. We're going to be getting into groups, and if you haven't seen our video on World Cafe yet, because we're basing how we're interacting in groups based on adaptation of World Cafe, it's extraordinary, and I think it's going to be a very powerful process for all of us. I think it's really kind of pointing to a new way of coming together in a powerful way, even in the virtual realm, or maybe especially because this is a challenge for all of us. But it's a challenge that we must face, and a challenge that if we do it in a really good way, we're using technology and all these things that were shadows that were threatening, right? We're going to turn them into allies. And so we're working together to transform these technological shadows together through this process. We start with who we are within the field of dealing with technology and being in the world as it stands. How do we escape the labyrinth of the world that we've inherited? We didn't create it, but we're living in it. And how do we use that to create something greater from it? So thank you guys again. I am so deeply honored and grateful for your willingness to take this leap of faith and to be fired up about this process ahead. I see great things coming, and the greatness comes out of our engagement with each other. Dare to go outside of your comfort zone, maybe, in the way you interact with others. We're going to do it in small enough groups where you will be able to hopefully feel very comfortable in this more intimate connection. But at the end of the day, you'll also have the opportunity to work in small groups with everyone. And as you will find, this group is filled with amazing people. And every one of us has some beautiful things going on in the world, some amazing challenges and some amazing wisdom and gifts, and from many different diverse platforms and ways of seeing the world. So this is a very, very powerful collection of souls coming together in service to humanity, in service to awakening to our truth that is a mystery unfolding, and to develop a way forward that is generative and good, and brings this collective intelligence into collaborative intelligence. So thank you all. Please keep in touch at all times. We're going to be watching the boards and watching the messages. If you need anything at any point, any clarification, let us know. Don't hesitate. We want to make sure everyone feels comfortable and onboarded as soon as possible. Thank you guys, and much love to you all, and I'll see you inside. Bye.